Welcome to the Hack the Entrepreneur Top 10, where we dive into the 10 most popular, deepest diving, and most transformative interviews from over 200 of the world's most interesting and brightest entrepreneurs. To get the full experience and to hear new episodes every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, visit hacktheentrepreneur.com.
Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Hey, welcome back to Hack the Entrepreneur. I'm so glad you decided to join me again today. My name is John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. Today's guest is an amazing entrepreneur, artist, and human. She is founder of SB Inc., a creative consultancy and an agent of social change. She is the author and leader of a global campaign for visual literacy called the Doodle Revolution. My guest has worked with companies like Disney, Sharpie, Zappos, and South by Southwest. Using common sense, experience, and neuroscience, she is proving that to doodle is to ignite your whole mind, and she aims to teach the world how to master strategic doodling in her latest book, The Doodle Revolution. Every revolution needs a leader, best known for large-scale strategic doodles and a book she wrote called Game Storming, a book that outlines visual thinking techniques for business. Her TED Talk on doodling has drawn more than 1 million views on TED.com. This was a brilliant and hilarious conversation, and I am so glad to share it with you today. Now, let's hack Sunni Brown. FreshBooks makes dead simple cloud accounting software that's transformed how 5 million entrepreneurs deal with their day-to-day paperwork. As the exclusive sponsor of Hack the Entrepreneur's Top 10, FreshBooks is sharing their top 10 tips on how entrepreneurs can save time, reduce stress, and make their businesses run more smoothly. Tip number 5. Keep a detailed report of every hard-earned billable minute so you don't shortchange yourself. Let FreshBooks handle your time tracking so you'll always have a description of exactly what you did, when you did it, and how long it took. Then, when you're ready to bill, FreshBooks can add up your tracked hours and create an invoice with a single click. This is just a fraction of what FreshBooks can do for you. Get 30 days free to feel the full effect of FreshBooks on you and your small business. Go to freshbooks.com/hack and enter hack in the How Did You Hear About Us section. All right, we are back with another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur, and we have an interesting and awesome guest today. Sunni, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for calling me awesome.
Okay, this is going to be fun, so let's jump straight into it.
Okay.
Sunni, as an entrepreneur, what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
Whoa. I mean, that's kind of unfair to boil it down to one. I mean, it's a lot. It's elaborate. But so, like, give me a moment. The one thing that I do that's contributed the most to my success?
Yeah. That you feel, just based strictly on yourself.
Okay. Well, I've never responded in this way before, but one thing that I'm consistent at is I'm kind to other people, which is a strange requirement for an entrepreneur because, believe me, I have met entrepreneurs who are complete dicks. Can I cuss on your show?
Yes, please do.
So it's not like kindness is a prerequisite, but I have found that, because I have obviously a lot of traits that made entrepreneurism viable for me, but they change over time. But one thing I've consistently been is really good with customers and clients. So maybe I'm a psychologist to their challenges, so I'm very unflappable. I don't get flustered when things go wrong, and I celebrate successes, and I listen really well. And I think that the word of mouth from being in a relationship with a customer or a client has paid off, in the long run, which is, I've never responded in that way to a question like that, but it's just what came to mind,
That's good. I like it.
I'm rather pleasant.
It was a lot of things from not having one. It's good. And you say that you have kind of inherently a lot of traits that make you a good entrepreneur, although they kind of change and fluctuate over time.
Yeah.
What is one of those things?
Well, I definitely have a creative essence. So I'm not I do not have judgment about ideas, right? So like a lot of times I talk to people who are real hard on their own ideas and I don't have that, right? So like in other words, I can come up with 100 ideas in a day, easy. In fact, I do it. It's almost a compulsion, and I don't harsh myself about if some of them are stupid. It's just not a thing. Like I don't really see the point of. I understand there's a point at which judgment and discernment is appropriate, but I'm not really the kind of person who gives myself a hard time for coming up with goofy ideas. And I think that that is really helpful because then whenever I'm like, hey, let's try something, I don't get a lot of resistance from myself about it. I'm just like, I can forgive myself and move on. It's very improvisational, you know? And I think that's been helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great. And at what point, you know that there needs to be discernment, obviously, and a filter sort of for your ideas that ever, say, see the light of day further. But at what stage of the idea does that happen for you?
Let me think about that. I mean, I'm not, I think a lot of people associate entrepreneurism with high level of risk taking, but I am not actually a risk lover. I'm a very calculated risk taker, which of course, really good entrepreneurs are calculated risk takers. But so I would never pursue an idea that I didn't think had real widespread appeal, significant value, and was not too difficult to launch, Like, I'm just not that person, So I'm trying to think of something that somebody tried to sell that was just such a hard sell. Like, I would never pick up an idea that was a hard sell and try to, like, push it up the mountain like Sisyphus or whatever, You know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean.
I'm glad I'm not that person because I know that there are people that believe so strongly in one idea or one passion that they have that they'll go above and beyond the call of duty to get it in the world. And I'm definitely not that person. I'm much more pragmatic. I'm like, listen, this is creative, but it also is viable. And so I don't take risks that are too risky, frankly.
Yeah, fair enough. And just go for, I guess it's not going for the easy wins necessarily. It's just not like bashing your head against the wall just because you believe in something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I have a lot of empathy for, I really wish I could come up with like an example. It's like, okay, like the pet rock person, the person who invented pet rocks. I mean, that to me sounded preposterous because I didn't think anybody would buy a pet rock. Remember those?
I do remember those. That's the most genius invention ever.
I know. I'm like,
once it broke through, of course.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know what motivated that person to do it. Maybe they had pet rocks, at their house and people kept coming over and saying, this is awesome. Can I have one? And so they got the clue that there was a market for it. But that's not something like, can you imagine having a passion? Like, I am so deeply passionate about putting googly eyes on rocks that I must, spend energy and time making the world love them. Like, that is a risk that I would not take. I would just be like, I don't care if this pet rock flies. It's not a big thing for me. But I'm glad there's people that do that, like definitely. I honestly don't take risks that I think I'm going to have to expend an exorbitant amount of energy to get them to launch. That's just not who I am.
Yeah. And to go with the pet rock, it's not only to have that passion, but to have just like to be willing to go sit down maybe at somebody's office and present this idea to them all honesty.
Can you imagine?
That's amazing. You deserve to be so rich forever just for having the guts to do that.
You're willing to put yourself out there as the pet rock pitch guy.
Not even joking. This is the future. Yeah. This is what everybody needs.
Yeah, see, totally. And that's what I mean. It's like, whenever I sell stuff, it's like, I already know 1,000% that it's valuable. So it's easy to sell because I'm like, this is useful. This is applied in all kinds of areas. If you don't like it, that kind of makes you a dum-dum, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I really admire people who sell things to skeptics, because I'm like, well, good for you. And then, I mean, in some ways, to be fair, I do sell things to skeptics. I mean, selling doodling into corporations is not the easiest thing in the world, but I know that it's valuable. Like, it's not a question mark for me.
Right.
So it doesn't make the sell complicated.
That's true. That is an interesting way to look at it because lots of people would look at that and say selling doodling to like IBM or something is probably not an easy task.
Yeah, I just realized the irony of that. I'm like, well, technically I do sell things that seem counterintuitive in some ways, but because I know the merit of it, it's not there's not any vagueness about the value in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Whereas if I was selling a pet rock, I would have a lot of questions about my own judgment.
And sanity. Yes, so would I. Okay, Sunny, there's a time in every entrepreneur's life when they realize one of two things. Either they have a calling to make something big in the world, or else they simply just cannot work for somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell me which one of these two you are?
I love that you found that dichotomy. I am absolutely 100% the second one.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. And
When did you
yeah, go ahead.
when did you realize that this
Oh, the 14th time that I got fired. Yeah, like no kidding. Yeah. Yeah, it was not good. It was like, and it was
the 13th time you're like, I totally got this whole job thing down pat. I can do this. Like I've had 13 of them now. I'm great at it.
right. Like I'm such a master at getting jobs. I'm so good at getting jobs, you know? Like I can get any job, but I can't keep the job, you know? And the thing is too, that I think that if you were to interview any of my old bosses, there's a lot of affection there. It's not like I was never a bad person. I was never my biggest trait at the time that got me fired was insubordination. So because I always had an idea of how you could do something better, but I was never in a position to be able to implement that. I always had a realization of when leadership was shitty. I'm not a person that can follow shitty leadership. Unfortunately, I mean, you know, my mom was like, you are going to be living at home when you're 35 because you can't keep a freaking job, you know? And thank God that wasn't the case. But yeah, that was when because I did not know that I was an entrepreneur truly. I had no idea. It took me a long time to even identify with it because it was not something that I even wanted to be, you know? So it was more like, oh, you can't keep a job, so you have to make your own job, you know?
Fair enough.
I know. When I look back, I realized that my mom was an entrepreneur, but I didn't associate her with that because she was in the healthcare industry and in hospice specifically. And then later when I met my dad, who I didn't know until I was 35, he also was an entrepreneur. So in some ways, it was a family genetic and cultural thing, but it was transparent to me, you know? So we're all insubordinate in some way.
Yeah. So shitty management was one of the reasons why you went through 14 jobs. Now you are a manager. You have a consultancy firm, right?
Yeah,
and
that's correct.
How do you make sure that you aren't a shitty manager?
I don't know. Maybe they think I am shitty. I don't know.
Oh, geez.
No, but
Was it a focus? Is it something you really tried though? Like I'm sure you really focus on like having a good working environment and a culture and stuff.
Oh, yes. I absolutely focus on having good relationships with all my people. And I also it's not hierarchical. I mean, obviously I'm the last decision maker. And if the buck falls or the shoe falls, I'm responsible for that. But I am very collaborative in the way that I work. And I'm also very transparent. So if I can tell, and you know, there's a little bit about me that's hyper attentive to people's emotional states. And so if someone's disgruntled or confused or disoriented or scared, you know, I can detect that. So I check in with them, you know, and, you know, I think when you're a boss or when you're in a leadership position, there's always a level of information that you're not going to have because they're not going to tell you because you're the boss. You know? So I don't expect that if all my people went to happy hour together, I'm sure they would make jokes that I wouldn't necessarily know they were making. But I think that they all have the sense that there's not many conversations that we can't have, you know, and I'm always looking out for their own quality of life and their quality of their work and what's in their best interest. And I think that keeps people around.
Wow. So you're just an awesome boss, basically. That's just what it comes down to.
You know, I think my Achilles heel as a boss, and I've gotten better about it, is remember when I talked earlier about generating 100 ideas in a day?
Yes.
That sort of Tasmanian devil's spinning wheel can wear people out. So I have to be attentive to that level of a generation of ideas because people need breaks. Yeah.
Right. So with the ideas though, so you have 100 crazy and possibly awesome ideas in a day. How do you decide what it is SB Inc. should kind of execute on and what shouldn't be executed on? Not judging your ideas, but just
Right.
like you can't do 100 ideas a day.
That's right. And that one took me a long time to sort that through. And then it's like, duh, it's so obvious now because I have a coach and she's amazing. And it's based on core values, obviously, of the company. And so, you have to discern those core values, and core values are not very likely to shift over time, And so once you have a real solid anchor around what you care about and what your company brand stands for, then it makes it a lot easier to pursue some of the ideas.
So you have a coach that teaches you to have core.
Yeah, she doesn't teach me. I mean, everybody has core values. They're just part of what drives behavior. But a lot of times they're unconscious. And a lot of times people are too scared to make decisions based on core values rather than revenue because there is a risk there.
Right.
And, and the great part about my coach and I think my own sort of faith in the entrepreneurial process that I didn't have in the early years was that it's actually safe to make decisions based on core values because the word of mouth and revenue will follow that awareness. But I think that just comes from experience and from taking some small risks and then recognizing that you get rewarded for them, even if they're counterintuitive, to a revenue model.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, I do too, man, because when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to say, oh, I sacrificed all my core values for $1. It just doesn't make any sense. So in the long game, but when you're scared and you're like, shit, how am I going to pay for my people and how am I going to pay my rent and how am I going to pay for your website redesign and all that stuff? It's easy to make those decisions based on the lowest common denominator or the highest revenue margin project, but then you don't feel like a good person on some level.
Right. And it doesn't ultimately even probably benefit you as a company. I mean, especially not as a person, but probably even as a company. I mean, people start to see through the way you're acting and it typically doesn't come back to help you.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing that's fascinating too, I mean, having integrity around your choices, people will detect that. People are very smart and they know that. But the weird thing is, I used to think that would be an indicator of success, and maybe it is, but I'm still kind of weighing that question about, because I've noticed you can actually have an utter lack of integrity around your own work, and you will still attract a lot of people who are into that. And you can actually create a persona that's totally false and have acolytes around you that are into it. And so you can have some measure of success being completely inauthentic for a long period of time, So I think that's fascinating because I used to be like, oh, well, how can you, it was a very Pollyanna point of view, like how can you succeed if you're an asshole, But it happens every day, like, So it's just a choice that I've made. Like, I think that there's always going to be customers who either A, can't distinguish because they're not paying that close of attention, or B, are into some of the things that you're into. And that's totally doable,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still possible.
Yeah. Okay, Sunny. So you told us at the beginning 5 or 6 things that you were really, really good at, and you've kind of continued that. Can you tell us something that you're absolutely not good at?
Did I tell you 5 or 6 things I was good at? Like,
yeah, you did. I got this giant list. Like, consistently kind. You have all these traits. Ideas. You know how to manage. Come on. You're like an entrepreneurial genius.
Yes, thank you. I've been waiting for that one. So something I'm not good at a ton of stuff. Like I'm not good at calculus. I'm not
calculus.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good at it actually, but I can't really do derivatives that well. But what was I gonna say? Oh,
that was awesome. Calculus. I've had a lot of interesting answers, but calculus, that's the first time I've heard calculus.
Are you good at calculus? I mean,
no, I'm terrible at it. I just thought that was understood amongst all of us, though. That we were just.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it is a strange response. I'll tell you one thing I had to learn to get good at. So I don't know if it counts because I'm now good at it, but I wasn't good at it for years, which is hiring. Was terrible at hiring. Like I would hire based on the person's need rather than my need, which is so, I mean, like it would have some overlap, but it was more based on, oh, how can I elevate this person? In other words, here's what it was. Like have a projection onto another person that they were more capable, more competent, and more ready to go than they were. And so then I would hire them and then I would find out that their skill level wasn't as glorified as I thought that it was. So I didn't have my accuracy on evaluating skill and growth potential was not good. So I had to figure that out like the hard way, Yeah. That's why I have a coach, because she's like, okay, this is not one of your strengths. And I'm like, thank God you pointed that out, because I knew that, but I didn't know how to make it a strength, because I just knew it was a weakness. I didn't know how to make it a strength.
So she identified this problem within you?
She did, because I had told her, she's amazing, my coach. I want to give a shout out. Her name's Lynn Christian. She lives in Salt Lake City, and she's doing what she was born to do, which is coach people. She's a master coach. And she's
Lynn Christian?
Yeah, she's amazing. And I'm so grateful for her direction, and guidance. But I can tell you another thing I'm not good at. I think I probably would be good at that. So hold on. I'm not good at, I think, I don't want to scale. I think a lot of people have an interest in scaling, and that is not intriguing to me at all. And I don't know if that's a negative trait or not, but my business is the size that I want it to be, and I'm not particularly interested in growing it. And so I'm interested in maintaining it. And
that's awesome.
Is it? Oh, that's cool.
Yes, that is. That's absolutely amazing. Because you probably have exactly what you want out of it, right? Like to me, a business it seems like everybody or not everybody, but when you're doing it right, you hit sort of a sweet spot in your business where life is good. You get to do the things you want to do in a really cool way. And then, of course, the natural instinct is, let's go past this now. And there's no turning back once you do that. Now you have this life that you don't want. You have this business that you don't want, but it's yours. And
yeah, that's right. And I think that, and there was for a long time, that seduction, like there was that temptation. And I got approached by a lot of people who wanted to be partners and who wanted to buy the business and scale it. And it just didn't feel right. And finally I came to terms with the fact, and I talked to a guy named Andy who's in Brighton in England, and he has a company called, I can't remember, it's not Adaptive Path, but he has a UX design company. And we talked about that. He's like, at some point it becomes a lifestyle business. So in other words, it allows you to have the quality of life that you want at the size and responsibility that you want. And he's the one that made it sort of first introduced the idea to me that that's perfectly suitable, because I think that in America it's like bigger, faster, more, and so there's a temptation to do it, even though I always knew I wasn't interested in that. So I'm really grateful to have it at a size and it's kind of humming, like an engine. And I'm really thankful for that, because it allows me to write books, which is actually my true passion. That's my genuine passion, So, and everything changes, right? Things shrink and they grow, and they shrink and they grow. So it's not like you can just, okay, I'm going to let go of the steering wheel now and let it ride. You still have to maintain, and you still have to generate clients, and you still have to, so much work you still have to do. But I don't intend to be the Empire State Building, it's not a goal.
That's cool. So we are sitting at the beginning of a new year. What are there some sort of goals or accomplishments that you want to achieve? Like, do you want to write another book this year? What is it you want to do?
Yes, I do. I am hosting a retreat next weekend with 12 women entrepreneurs. And the purpose of it is to get real clear on what I want to do for 2015.
Nice.
But I'm pretty clear on it, which is that I'm going to pitch another book. It's called Untangle, and it's about perception and storytelling. And it sort of like decodes the functionality of the mind with respect to perception, and teaches people how to, because I'm very much a how-to writer. I'm always like, let's figure out what that is and then make it really accessible. That's my MO. So you can't write a book in a year. I mean, if your book is awesome, you can't write it in a year. Mm-hmm. So I won't publish it in 2015 or even be done with it in 2015, but I certainly intend to pitch it to a publisher and start writing it.
That's awesome. I look forward to it.
Thanks.
Sunny, we've got to talk a lot about you and your business in passing. Can you tell people where to find out about your business and your books?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's Sunni Brown Inc., and it's Sunny spelled like Sunni. So it's Sunni, Brown, Ink, Inc., Sunni Brown Inc. And that showcases all of the work, the books and the clients and the press and maybe I should put some maybe I should put pet rocks on there. I should sell pet rocks.
Oh, you should.
I mean, people have been looking for them. I wonder if they're patented.
That was a while ago, so I wonder if it's still got a patent.
Oh my God, I got to hang up because I got to call the patent office to do this out. But yeah, that's a good place to find all of our stuff.
Very cool.
And I'm also on Twitter quite a bit.
Okay. So Twitter and sunnybrown.com. I will put the links in the show notes for everyone to find you easily and track you down. Sunny, thank you so much for spending the time with us. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to watching you not grow.
And I look forward to not growing at all.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. That was awesome. Thanks.
Sunni Brown, thank you so much. That was just such a fun conversation, and I don't remember laughing that hard during one of my interviews in a long time, and so I do thank you for that, and also for reminding all of us about the pet rock. I think that's really, really cool, and my daughter's going to freak out, and she's never heard of the pet rock, and I know is going to freak out about a pet rock, and she might even make you one and send it to you, I think. I just can tell just by the way it's going to turn out. So Sunni Brown said a lot of interesting things, a lot of almost business just things that you don't normally hear from an entrepreneur. And I loved that about the conversation because she's very, very successful, yet she's doing it very much how she wants to do it. But she said one thing, didn't she? She did. Did you get it? Did you hear it? Let's do it. Let's find the hack.
It's actually safe to make decisions based on core values because the word of mouth and revenue will follow that awareness. But I think that just comes from experience and from taking some small risks and then recognizing that you get rewarded for them, even if they're counterintuitive, to a revenue model.
And that's the hack. Yes, Sunny. Even if they're counterintuitive to a revenue model, they can be good for your business and for you. That is brilliant. And I thank you so much for that. It's absolutely true. Core values, this has come up before, and I so strongly believe in this, especially if you're trying to create a business that you are proud of, a business that really is congruent with you and yourself. And I mean, these are usually called lifestyle businesses, because they're part of you. And to go against your core values just in the name of making money will never, for you, create the perfect lifestyle business, or you'll never be totally happy with where you got because of the way you got there. And you have to make your decisions based on core values and potentially not make some money right now on certain things because it does not agree with what you set out to do. And it's true, you take these small risks, like Sunny says, and you are rewarded for them, but you don't know that until you do it. And you have to do these things, and you have to know that if you follow your core values, the money will follow. And even though it seems counterintuitive at the beginning, and I thank you for that, Sunny, because that's a hard thing for people getting into business and starting out. And I think it's something that you can't say, well, when my business scales to this level, then I'll start following core values. It never happens. You have to have these core values from the beginning. And I think it's essential. I think it's essential for happiness of you as a founder and just happiness and success of the business the way you see it. So thank you so much for that, Sunny. That was good. And I just thank you so much for the conversation because it was a lot of fun. HackTheEntrepreneur.com is the website. Please go check it out. It is being redesigned as we speak by some brilliant people, and it's really awesome. I'm really, really excited to get it out to you in the next few weeks. But check it out now and see me at the top. Get on my email list. Every Sunday, I'm sending out an email to you. It's my best writing I do, and I would love to get your feedback on it. Hit reply to any of those emails, and you're straight to my cell phone or straight to my inbox. I'd love to have a chat with you. If you haven't had a chance yet, hacktheentrepreneur.com/iTunes. 2 minutes it'll take you to leave me a review. I believe I just broke 250 5-star reviews. Those things help the show so much to get noticed in iTunes, to help me grow the audience, and to therefore help me get better and better and more amazing guests like Sunni Brown herself. So please go leave that review now, and I thank you so much in advance. This has been a lot of fun. And until next time, please keep hacking the entrepreneur.